Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shirley if you're new here, and if you are new, welcome to the family. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a easy makeup look and going over Their Eyes Was Watching God by Zora, Neale, Hurston. And I'm going to try my best to stay on topic with the book, because when I read that book, this is my second time reading it, and I just was going so deep I think it would just be, it's a book club book. It's a book club book that you can go in depths of the symbolism and all the stuff. What it represents something else. Just because it's said, it can represent something else. So let's get into this video. Everything that I use will be in the description bar below. And I will be using these two palettes. This is the Ace Beauté. That one, see the makeup on it. That lets you know she used it. And this one. In here, I think I'm gonna use these two colors. Or these two. We'll get there when we get there. So in the beginning of the book, I want to go over that part because it really, not the beginning, it's the book. The book starts off with her, and she's telling, it's the ending. It's the ending of the story. And she's going to tell her friend Phoebe, I think that's how you say her name. She's going to tell her friend Phoebe her story. So the beginning is the ending, and then she's going to go over her lifestyle thing. I went in with this shade right here just to put a little lightener up. I'm going to use two shades in here. Is it two? Yes, it's two. Well, at the very beginning of the book, it starts off with, a ship at a distance have every man wish on board, and some come in with the tides. And that is life. And I was like, that is life, because I'm using the wrong brush. Because when a ship, I went back to looking at, like, you know, when the ship used to come in back in the day, it had wishes on it. It had, I'm going with the people that had, like, product on the ship, where they had slaves on the ship, and even the people with the slaves on the ship was like, oh, it's going to make life so much more easier. They're going to work for me, and I'm going to get rich. And then you had the slaves on the ship that died, and they just threw them overboard, and they came in with the tide. So there was a wish or a dream on every ship. When you see it at a distance, it's like life. You see life at a distance, and you have a dream and a wish of what you want your life to be like. So that really stood out to me, and I thought on that for a long time while reading this book. It took me 3 weeks to read it because I was all out in La La Land, thinking so hard on the scriptures, not the scripture, the symbols. And this, what I used just now, is cinnamon. I'm just gonna blend that out while I talk to you guys a little. And as she came into town, she said she was returning from burying the dead. And at this time, a lot of people sun was setting. So back in the day, people used to sit on their front porch and they would talk and just look. I remember doing that with my grandma. We would just sit on the front porch and just look at life, like look at the frogs and the things, like, and talk about our day. And she said, but their life was even sadder than her coming back from burying the dead. Pretty much like they didn't have a life. And they all saw her coming in, and then they went to talking, because when she walked in, she had like overalls on. They said dirty overalls. And then her hair was just hanging and cascading in her back, and it was jet black. And it was like, oh, why you ain't coming back in that beautiful white wedding dress you rolled out here in? You're coming back, you broke. I bet you, they just went to gossiping among themselves. Like, I bet you done took all her money and she don't have anything anymore. She knew she shouldn't have married that young dude. Not even knowing what she went through. And we all do a lot of that sometimes. We'll look at a person and start judging them and thinking we know, and you don't know, period. And one of the things they were saying, like, oh, she dated Tea Cake. Tea Cake was a younger guy. And you know, oh, she shouldn't have married that young guy because she was too old for him. She was only 35. She was not 35. She was 5 years older than him. And that, like, she was 70. I wonder why we have double standard like that. A man 70 could marry an 18-year-old and it's fine. Or a man 70 can marry a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, and it's fine. And they don't think like, well, she marrying him for his money? They don't talk about it. They go, whoo, whoo, for him. But when a woman do it, she should have known better, marrying him. Don't have two coins. He married you for your coins, blah, 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 blah. Because you can't be in love. That's what people think. But unbeknownst to them, Janie Crawford had finally found true love. So Phoebe got off the porch and said she was going to go take some dinner to Janie, and she was going to see what has been going on in her life since she left the place. She was being nosy, but that was also her best friend. So she was going to her best friend to talk. And then one lady, which was so funny to me, said, do you want me to heat up some of the dinner I cooked to keep warm for you when you get through talking to Janie? Because you needs to come back and tell us what she did. But when she went over there to talk to Janie said, I'm going to tell you because you're my best friend. And I know you would deliver the story truthful. Like, it'll be just like me speaking my words. That's how you would tell them. And you can tell them. Janie started out by telling her about her relationship. Janie had been in 4 relationships. And when we think of a relationship, you think about a man. But all relationship ain't with a man. It's not sexual. But her first love was to her grandma, Nanny. She took care of Janie and some other one of her, like, she took care of some small kids in town. And she stayed in the back of these white people who own it. I'm seeing it as a plantation. But she lived in the back of it. And she raised Janie back there. And Janie loved and respected her grandma. She first married this guy, Logan. He owned a potato farm. She married him because her grandma said, I think I'm going to go with this. I'm going in with seaweed and in the oceanic palette, seaweed. Her grandma was like, hey, Janie, you need to marry him because he can take care of you. Even though he was older than she was, the grandma was looking for somebody to take care of her, because back then, a lot of older women was looking for men to take care of their daughters because they weren't going to be here always. And you can't stay with your parent always if you want to. That's how they saying, like, you got to be out of this house and you need someone to take care of you. Because women really couldn't get jobs like men used to. They could get cooking, cleaning, and stuff like that, but a real job, they didn't allow that. If you did, you didn't get paid what a man would be paid. Because, he got a family to take care of. So, her grandma married her off to Logan first. And then her second husband involved Joe Starks. Joe Starks was a smart guy. And he became the mayor of the city, Eatonville. He became the mayor of the city. And with He knew how to handle business. He knew how to handle like prosperity. He knew how to do that. And he really was using Janie as a arm canvas from what I was seeing. Because she said the two things she needed from him, he couldn't give to her. He gave her, they had a store. He was a mayor. He gave her status in the community. But what she really was looking for was just respect and love from him. He treated her like property to me. She stayed in a relationship for 20 years. She stayed married to him for 20 years until he died. And when he died, there was no prenups, like we got today. When he died, he left everything to Janie. And then here comes her final relationship and husband. And it was TK. I'm smiling so hard because I really love TK character. TK gave Janie what she was always searching for. He respected her and he loved her. And he took her around, I ain't gonna say the word, around. He took her around. He showed her places. And he was a migrant worker. So with a migrant worker, here, I remember in Florida, a lot of migrant worker, like 1 year they'd be in New York, not 1 year, a couple of months they'll be in New York, then they'll be back to Florida for the sugar cane, the oranges. So he always was moving around. So Janie sold the store. She kept the house. She sold all the stuff the guy had, and she was going with TK. And they was talking. Girl, she done met this young guy, and now she finna run off with him. He's gonna take her for every dime she got. But little did they know, her money didn't mean anything to TK. He wanted to take care of her. And then the first place they went, she went to the Everglades with him to pick beans. I don't know if I would have went with TK. But when you find love, I guess you just do. You just do. So she went with TK to the Everglades to pick beans. And then they moved from the Everglades to different places because he was a migrant worker. What she loved is that TK introduced her to a new life. Like, he introduced her to the new life. He took her out of her comfort zone. And she loved him. He was also, that's what a lot of people don't see in relationship. TK was her friend, her fun, loving friend. And I know a lot of wives and husbands, they're not friends. They're just wearing the title wife and husband. But he's not her friend. She's not his friend. And most definitely, her life with TK wasn't the same as her life with Mr. Joe. It wasn't the same. And it only lasts 18 months. That's so... So, she cried right up in there when I saw that the marriage wasn't going to last. It was sad because she had found the love of her life. Finally, let me blend this a little bit. Find the love of her life that wasn't going to last her life. But it's what they say, it's better to have known love than never have loved at all. At least you know what love really looks like. When you find someone you love with your unconditionally. Well, let me jump on I got to finish this. You got to read the book and go more in depth. It's a beautiful, beautiful love story. It's beautiful. So her and TK had moved to Belglades to do the sugar canes. And they were staying, you know how houses look back then. They were staying in Belglade on somebody's farms to do the sugar cane. And we did not have, they know the hurricane was coming. But you know how right now they say, oh, it's a category 1. Oh, it's just a tropical storm. Oh, it's a category 2, a category 3. they could tell us what the category is going to hit us at so we can be more prepared. But they didn't have that then. And this hurricane in 1958, when it hit the Belgrade, it came in at a Cat 4 or 5. When it came in on that side, it was so much destructive. Then they have unmarked graves. Now that part was true. That's a true story. They have unmarked graves now in Belglades, where they just had to throw so many bodies in there because so many people died during that hurricane. It was so devastating. And Belglade got the Okeechobee Lake and all of that is around there. So the water raised up so high, the houses was floating. Houses was floating. And what had happened was in Tea Cake and Janie house, no, it was they went out to get out. Like, let's go because the water's getting higher. We have to get out. So they went to get out. And it was on top of this house. That's how high the water. It was on top of this house. And it was actually floating. Like a lake floating down. And they was holding on for dear life. And I think at one point a cow even got up on top of the house for his life. And then the worst thing, a dog got up on top of the house. At first, they was like, oh, he's looking for, he could stay up here. They was going to let the dog stay. He turned out to be, as they say in the back of the day, a mad dog. He had rabies. And the dog went to attack them. And Tea Cake jumped out and was fighting that dog to keep it from hurting Jamie. He fought the dog, he fell off, and he fell off the house and he was fighting that dog. And then he got back on the house roof, but the dog had bit him. So the dog had bit him and they made it through the hurricane. But to make it through the hurricane and didn't have to go through what she went through. I think I don't know how they found a vaccine now. I don't know if they had a vaccine back then, but Tea Cake had rabies. And before he went completely mad, he bought a gun and he brought it in the house. And he told Janie that she might have to use it. Because if she didn't use it on him, he may use it. But he put it where she could get to it. So one day, Tea Cake was going to kill her because he had done went completely mad with the rabies in his brain. And she had to kill him. So what a story to find the love of your life and you had to go. Now I got myself together a little. It made me cry even when I'm reading the book, when I read it the last time too. But she had to kill the love of her life. And then she couldn't handle the beautiful memory they had together in the Everglades. So she went back home. She went back to Edenville. So you can see in Edenville is where the story began. You can see the story began with she coming back to Edenville with the overall and her hair swinging behind her. And when I saw her in that, she learned what love was, and then her hair to me represented that. Even though she went through all of that, she was still strong, and she still was going to make it through life. She went back to her house, opened up her house, and she was going to start another life, living without TK, founding love. So after she got through telling Phoebe the story, she was telling Phoebe, now you could go. Not you could go, but now I know when you tell this story, you're going to tell it as if I was telling it. And people will stop. But you know people going to take it and put their own little spin on it anyway. But that's what it is. It's stop looking at people and judging and thinking you know when you don't know. And sometimes true love for some people is not the same true love for other people. And some people have went through life just trying to be taken care of. I'm going to go under here with this green right here. It's called seagrass. I went with seaweed, but I want to put seagrass right here. So also what I learned in this book is that love exists differently for everyone, and then some people have never been in love, has never been in love. Because you know what I thought about? You know how when we was in high school or when you was young, you thought you loved everybody. Every boyfriend, you loved them. And then when you get older and look back and you're like, girl, you wasn't in love. I sure enough wasn't. I wasn't in love. I wasn't in love. Oh. So that is the end of my story with their eyes was watching God. It was another part. It was another part in there. This is the last thing I want to say. As she was telling her story to Phoebe, Phoebe also learned something from Janie's story to her. And then Janie learned two important lessons in this book. People must go to God, and people must find out about living for themselves. You can't live through anyone else. You can only live your life, and you should live it to the fullest. If there's things that you want to do, go do it. If it's not immoral and you're not hurting anybody, go do it. You want to jump out of the airplane, go do it. You want to do things, go do it. And also she learned that she know that in loving TK, as long as she lives, she will have memory of TK in her heart. And Janie had finally found peace from within, and the peace she had desired all her life. Like, she didn't get mad. Some people get mad. She didn't get mad that TK died. She was grateful that she had found what true love was. So let me go off camera. I'm going to put on my mascara and set my makeup, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, I am back with the final look from the Oceanic palette and one shade from this one. And this is the palette. I love this palette. It's so beautiful. The colors, so much you can do with that. I love Ace Beauty palette and his cheek blush and his contouring kit. I actually use the no, I didn't. But everything I use, I will put it in the description below. And this is a 7-day wash and go video. Yeah, the video came out before this one. That's that wash and go. Let's get a closer look. this book is a great suggestion. It's a tear jerker, and it makes you happy, it makes you smile, it makes you sad. So every emotion you might have is in this book. So I think this book is like $7, so it's not like a big cost to you. I suggest it. It's a really good read. And I want to thank you guys for stopping by and watching my video. And if you're new here, welcome to the family. And I will see you in my next upload. Mwah, mwah.